Let's go right now to our race-winning team for tonight's 52nd annual Irwin Tools Night Race here at Bristol Motor Speedway. And our race winner is Denny Hamlin. He drove the number 11 FedEx Ground Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. He's joined on the podium by Team President J.D. Gibbs and Crew Chief Darian Grubb. This is Denny's 20th NASCAR Sprint Cup Series win, so that's a milestone. His third win of 212. His first win here at Bristol Motor Speedway. And Denny, congratulations on the win tonight. Gives you another win as you continue to prepare for the chase. And just talk about what it means to win here at Bristol.
Well, you're counting down the laps and you're starting to think about it. With about 10 to go, what it would mean to win, and then you're hoping you just get to see the white flag. That's a crucial point of the race. But for me, you struggle to say how it means. Because I grew up watching this race so many times and all the great finishes, and this is just a milestone type of race that you always want to win. They got one of the best trophies of all tracks, and it's going to be one of my prized possessions, and it's obviously my biggest win.
Well, congratulations on that. Darian Grubb, how did it look from up top the pit box tonight for that number 11 FedEx Toyota? Certainly came on there in the second half of the race, the last quarter of the race when it really needed to. How did it look up there?
I'd say it was.
He's getting it.
There you go. Have to say it was pretty cool, just being able to see the car race its way to the front, and Denny being able to make the comments that we've got a winning race car 50 laps in. That makes everybody feel really good about the work they've been doing, building new cars, and then just working their butts off at the shop. Coming here, we unloaded fast. We had a big plan with a lot of changes we made for practice one. Every one of those seemed to work out in our favor, just like our simulation, everything said it was going to. So those things all make just life better, because the work you're doing pays off. So the effort back at the shop paid dividends this weekend. I appreciate all those guys doing that.
J.D. Gibbs, talk about the win here tonight at Bristol. Denny just said it was the biggest win of his career, and it's got to be a big win for the Joe Gibbs Racing organization.
It is. They're always big wins, and you think after doing this all these years, you wouldn't be as stressed as you are. But until that last lap, until you breathe that sigh of relief. And what was encouraging is, I think Darian, Dave Rogers, Jason Radcliffe, they've all done a great job with all these cars, with Kyle and with Joey. We had, at different points in the race, 3 really good cars. And so to be able to finish with what we did with Denny was special. A bunch of the FedEx executives were here today, which was real neat. Toyota executives, so that was really special for them as well.
Take questions now for this race-winning team. If you have one, raise your hand, and we'll get to you. We'll start with David, then we'll go to Joe.
Yeah, David Newton, ESPN.com for Denny. Everybody was talking about the new style of racing here and everything. The move you made to I guess, the winning move where you sort of slid down and came up, and Carl, it looks like he rammed you from behind, and you kept it going. Talk about that move and just what that style of racing was like and the intensity out there.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. It was a different type of racing for sure. You had to be very aware of what was behind you before you even attempted to pass the guy in front of you. That was the biggest thing that I noticed, is that you had to have at least 2 car length gap behind you before you could actually work a guy to the low side, because if you got pinned down there for a couple laps, the guy behind you would fill the hole every time and you would end up going backwards. So it was a constant, just freight train up high of cars, and really we were one of the only cars that could really make ground on the bottom. And so the best car won tonight, no doubt about it. I feel like we were the only car that could really pass like we could. But at any given point, it was tough to get around no matter who was in front of you, simply because of the high line was just typically the place it wanted to be. A lot of reason for that is when they ground the surface, what that did was make it a little bit more abrasive. Well, the abrasiveness was filled in by rubber, and then it made it have more grip than the actual surface itself. So even though the banking was cut out, the grip level up there was superseded the amount of banking that was taken out.
Let's go to Joe Menzer.
Joe Menzer, NASCAR.com. Really, this is for all you guys, but at any point are you thinking about chase implications here? Because now, I mean, during the race, because now you got the 3 wins. You're one of 4 drivers with 3 wins. How big is that? And was that going through your minds at any point during the race?
Well, for me, it was going to be a tough, if we were really going to have to battle someone at the end. If the 5 hadn't had problems, I may have been a little bit more cautious because I want those 6, before we won, I wanted those 6 points to count. We saw how much 1 point mattered in the chase last year, so we didn't want to fall outside the top 10. And for another reason is it hurts our teammate if we fall outside the top 10 and say Carl gets in, that puts the 18 or the 20 guys in a tough spot. So our best option for our race team and to get more cars in was for me to win if the 18 or 20 couldn't. So I was going to race for the win, especially down at the end with 50 to go. Anytime you can smell a lead, you're going to do everything you can to win. You're not thinking about points at any point at the end of the race when you're running second. So the only thing that would have been tricky is obviously if we would have gotten in trouble and the 99 won the race, that could have put us in a bad spot.
Let's go Al Pierce. You got a question? Who'd you want to ask? Darian? Go ahead, Darren. I'm sorry.
I'd say the first time I thought about the point situation was when we were puking all the water out of it under caution. We got up to almost 300 degrees and just spewing water constantly for 2 cautions, so we knew we lost a lot of water at that point. So then it's just a matter of managing it and make sure we don't lose the engine in the car. And the TRD guys did a great job. That motor's probably going to be a little soft when it goes back because it got so hot, but it made it to the end. It probably didn't have hardly any water in it now after the burnout. But that you start thinking about those situations at that point of what you can lose. But then Denny did a great job managing it after that and never really got that hot again. So we were very glad to be able to finish the race.
Let's go to Al Pierce, then Marty Smith, and then the press box. Go ahead.
Yeah, Denny, Al Pierce, Art of the Week. Do you understand how you're not yet officially in the chase? You got 3 wins and you're top 10, but mathematically you're not quite there yet. Is that kind of strange a little bit?
Yeah, there's 2 races left. I think the reason I'm not, I think, is because of the 14. If he were to fall out, he would take a spot. And then if the 5 won a race, that would be 3 wins. And if he's still out, so somehow, some way, we could not make it. But I don't think that's going to be the case. Yeah. Yeah,
Mathematics.
They've figured out all kinds of, NASCAR knows what is a clinching spot and what's not. But, like I say, you finish dead last the next 2 races and those guys somehow get shuffled, then you could have something go wrong. But we feel pretty good about where we're at.
Let's go to Marty Smith, and then we'll go to the press box.
Marty Smith, ESPN. Denny, I actually have a couple. The first one is, from your perspective, is the old Bristol back, like the old, gladiator magic?
It's tough to say, honestly. It's just a different kind of racing. There's nothing he's going to do that's going to make us run the bottom if it's not the fastest way around the track. But it was the same thing. We were all running in a line and just waiting on the next guy to screw up to get around. So that's what you had to do with the old Bristol. So that's exactly how we had to race today. You couldn't just, the slide job was an option to pass, which, that's won us the race. But I think it is. I mean, I don't think that we saw as much side-by-side racing, but you didn't see side-by-side racing with the old Bristol. You just saw a bunch of cars in line waiting on someone to get knocked out of the way or mess up, and that's the same thing we had today. So you would say yes? I'd say yes.
The other thing is, I might be dreaming, but did you guys have an issue early on in the race where you were concerned about your car making it to the end?
This is the most
Wasn't there something?
we've ever gone through. We had no water in the car. We were 300 degrees early on in the race. All the gauges pegged, shooting water out like it's a super speedway race. Evidently, we had an electrical fan, our radiator fan go bad. So we spewed most of our water out. We hit the wall pretty good. We hit Landon Castle on pit road. But I told Darian the more stuff that we hit, the faster it went. So as soon as you think that it's over, it's like, damn, we hit something. Oh, man, this thing's awesome. This is great.
Let's go upstairs to the press box. Go ahead.
Mike Embry, Speed.com. Denny, you mentioned the rubber filling up the top groove. Kind of at what point did that happen? When did you realize that it was going to be okay to run up there?
I never tested it. I just followed the car in front of me, basically. I wore a lot of guys' left rear corners out of their race car, just keeping my car. There's some guys that really tested it and got close to the wall, but I always felt like my car was better about one lane down. Right sides right there on the edge of that new surface. But I knew watching the Nationwide race yesterday. I went up in one of the suites and watched it. You saw that was the groove. That was where the fast cars were going to run. But we made 90% of our passes on the inside. So even though it was a highline racetrack, look at all of our passes. We made some serious ground on the bottom, and that's what won it for us. We'd pass 2 and 3 cars on the bottom once everyone would get kind of bottled up top. So you had to have a car that was good enough to run both grooves. You couldn't just, count on running up top and waiting on everyone to fall out in front of you.
Any more questions in the press box?
Yes, sir. Nate Ryan, USA Today. 2 quick ones. Denny, just for you, knowing that Richmond is your home track, what makes this win bigger than your 2 wins at Richmond?
They're very, very close, but it's just you're in front of a bigger crowd. You're at the night race at Bristol. It's just you talk to a casual race fan and you talk to anyone that doesn't know a whole lot about NASCAR, and they'll always ask you, well, if I want to go see a race, where should I go? And everyone says the Bristol night race. So it's where the most eyes are on us. It's the most exciting racetrack that we have on our circuit as far as competition's concerned. And, this is one of the races that me and my dad and my mom used to just love watching. This is the one that we could not wait to get home Saturday night to see this race. And so that's what makes it so special for me is that you're watching this race for so many times.
And then secondly, if I could get you and Darian to both address this. This is your first top 10 since Indianapolis, and even the Brickyard I know was probably a little bit demoralizing for you guys because you started on pole and thought you had the winning car and then end up 6th. After the kind of the mini slump you've been in lately, what does this win do for you that not only you come out here with a win, but now you're tied with the other 3 guys as the potential #1 seed for the chase? I mean, it just seems like this win on a lot of levels is a big lift for you guys.
I'd say it really is. Those weeks, it's tough because we felt like every week we had a good, solid top 10 finish coming, but then circumstances took us out of that, whether it be our own doing or an engine failure or mechanical failure or something like that going on in the background. But just we had fast race cars, and we're doing the work that it takes to stay up front each week. And once you do that, you have the possibility to win. So the guys have been really doing a great job behind us in the background with TRD and Joe Gibbs engineering support, and doing a great job making sure we don't have those issues again. And hopefully we can just keep staying up front and running top 10.
Yeah, it is for me too. We look at, I looked, just last week, and you look beside our name, and it looks like we have 2 wins, and it was like, gosh, it feels like we should have way more wins than that, as competitive as we were. And you look at Loud, New Hampshire, and obviously had a dominating car there. But talking with some of the crew guys and even Darian, it's like as long as we don't have a failure or we don't get in a wreck, we can win anywhere we go. And that's something that we haven't had since 2010. Being able to win at every different track at any type of course. So, it's a good feeling to know that you can go to a racetrack and win any given week, and that gives you a lot of confidence. And so for me, even though it shows 3 wins, I feel like we've got 5 or 6.
take one more in the press box, and we'll come down to Mark. Go ahead, press box.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. This one's for JD. I think it was at Kentucky that that Coach Gibbs said that you guys were committed to trying to find something for Joey. Just wondered what had happened on that front and when we might expect any other announcements on personnel matters.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're referring to. Yeah, I'm just kidding. No, our hope was really with Joey, we would continue with him. I think he's looking at some other possibilities, some other options, and we would love to keep him in our fold. But we're still not to the point where we can kind of announce anything. But I would say within the next few weeks we'll have a pretty good plan.
Back downstairs, Mark, to the far right.
Mark Darrow, PRN. This is for Darian. You know, you're the Sprint Cup Championship crew chief. Do you get the feel from this team? You guys were obviously building towards something, so when you hit the chase, you're pumping on all 8 cylinders. Do you get that feel now from this team that you guys are starting to crest and reach that peak right at the right time?
Yeah, I really think so. You don't want to count your eggs before you put them in the basket type thing, but it's a lot of hard work. I mean, all the way since December when I came in, I've been learning every day by the engineering staff and all the people there, the mechanics. They teach me lessons. I teach them lessons on a lot of just different things we've been doing. So you can see the light at the end of the tunnel of the things we've been working on, and you know we're getting stronger as we do it. So just knowing that work each week means faster race cars, and Denny's confidence gets better each week when we bring more of those things to the racetrack. That tells you that you're going to have a chance to win it. And even after we won the race there at Phoenix, we've thought, man, we're going to be pretty stout. And then since then, we've been making things better and making the cars better, and his feedback has been getting better and better about what we're doing. So hopefully we can take all those things, just keep getting better and not slow down.
Other questions downstairs? Bob has one right here.
Bob Packer, Sporting News for Denny, and if Darian wants to chime in, that's great. Can you put 10 races together in the chase? I mean, and have you asked Darian about any secrets that he had from last year on how to do that?
I reckon we can.
It's been a pretty inconsistent.
It has, but you always see every year there's inconsistencies all the time. With our point system, you know, not that you take the regular season for granted, but when you have a couple wins like we had early on, we were racing for wins. You know, anything else you kind of just take in stride and say, you know, what do we need to work on? You know, this weekend, Darian and the engineer said, okay, I need you to just believe in whatever we got in the car right from the get-go. Just let's make it work. And so there's been 2 tracks where they've just come up with a setup and said, this is what we're going to try to make work. And that was New Hampshire and here. And the 2 have just, those are our 2 best races that we've completed all year long. So I believe that we can. You see the chase guys will drive differently when those last 10 races come up. I think I did a good job in 2010 of working the chase in the sense of knowing where I needed to finish at each track to have a shot to win in Homestead. But it's the X factors. It's you know, if you have failures or you have wrecks, it's going to throw a kink in everything. So reliability is number 1 on our goal, because the 40 points that you lose by having something go wrong, a crash or something like that, it's hard to make up the performance to make up that 40 points just based off of having fast cars from that point on. So I think that we can make 10 races together. I think that the chase, other than Dover, I'm so bad there. I hate that track. Bruton should work on that one. Other than Dover, I feel that I can win at any racetrack that we go to.
Alex, raise your hand. Get him a mic, and then we'll take one right here.
Hey, Denny. Alex Scuti, ESPN. Just a quick question for you. This is the 200th win for the number 11 car in this series, and I was just wondering if you could talk about, you know, a car that so many greats have driven, Cale, DW, Junior Johnson, what it means to contribute to that milestone.
You know, we've been thinking about it for a long time. It's big because it's my 20th 200th for the car, and you know, you look at the names, you know, Ned Jarrett and those guys that have driven the number 11. It's just I'm just a speck on that stat sheet of wins for this number, but you know, hopefully by the time I'm done years down the road, you know, we'll whoever takes the 11 after that, we'll try to live up to what we accomplished. And so, you know, who knows where it ends, but this is a number it's been big in NASCAR history. It's been connected to a lot of championships, and so I know it's big for the owner over here. It was, you know, his number throughout his awesome racing career. So it was it's big for the Gibbs family. It's big for me. It was my number when I grew up. So when I grew up, my very first race car when I was 16 years old was a purple and white number 11. And so I'm driving it today.
Final question right here on the front row.
Denny, I'm Genevieve with Skirts and Scuffs. With racing being so circumstantial, what do you think some of your biggest challenges you're going to be facing between now and the chase? Is it more like the other competitors, or is there something else?
You know, it's tough not to always keep an eye on the competition, but, you know, I think that as long as we focus on just getting me the best cars possible and working with that, then we're going to be fine. You almost got to keep the blinders on once the chase starts, because you got what you got. You know, all these teams plan the chase a year in advance. You know, I know our team does in specific. So, you know, you just you don't battle with yourself, but you just know that the racing is going to be different. These next 2 weeks, it's obviously going to be about nothing but winning for us. You know, if we're going to try new setups, things like that, I'm all for it, because right now we need as many bonus points as possible, because we see how tight this field is, and I'm looking at the chase field saying that, gosh, every single one of them can make a run and win this championship. So it's going to be about who manages the chase the best, and I think that we have a great shot at that.